Sometimes the most powerful thing you'll ever say is nothing at all. Let that sink in, my friends, because silence, it's not weakness. It's a weapon. It's the final move of someone who's been patient long enough. You've given, you've waited, you've explained, and now you disappear, not to hurt, but to heal. This right here, this message, is for the ones who loved too loudly and got treated like background noise. If you've ever wondered what happens when they finally feel what life is like without you, stay close. This one's about to get real. Before we dive deep, do me a favor. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and if you feel this in your soul already, type this in the comments right now. I choose peace. Let's go. Hey folks, imagine this. You're the sun. Every day you rise. You light up their world. You warm their skin. You make things grow. But over time, they stop noticing. They don't say thank you. They don't even look up. They just assume you'll always be there. Until one day, you don't rise. No storm, no warning, just darkness. And suddenly, they remember the light you used to give so freely. That's what we're talking about today. You see, some people don't realize your worth when you're around. They only realize it when you're gone, and you, yes, you, need to stop explaining your value to people who've stopped listening. You don't need to beg to be understood. You don't need to fight to be seen. Because when you're always explaining yourself, you're not in your power, you're on trial. And your life isn't a courtroom, my friend. It's a kingdom. Let's break a lie real quick. They told you walking away makes you heartless. They said silence is cold. Wrong. Silence is sacred. Distance is divine. And walking away, that's the move of a man who finally knows what he brings to the table. You're not leaving to punish them. You're leaving to protect your peace. Like Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. That means you don't have to scream your worth. Just live it. You don't need to shout when you walk away. Your absence will echo louder than anything you could say. Your energy was the gift. Your presence was the blessing. They just forgot how to treat it. Now let me add a little humor here, because I know some of y'all are still peeking at their stories, checking if they watched your post. Come on now. You didn't come this far just to go back to crumbs. You're the feast. Act like it. This isn't about making them miss you. That's a side effect. The real goal? Reclaiming your time, your energy, your fire. They had front row seats to your love story and treated it like background noise. Now the show's over. Curtain closed. No announcement. Just gone. You don't need closure. You don't need permission. You need clarity. And clarity comes in the quiet. When you stop trying to prove, to fix, to chase, you start rising. So if this is hitting you right where it needs to, I want you to say it with your chest. Drop it in the comments. I choose peace. No more over-explaining. No more begging to be seen. You're done performing. You're done waiting. From this point on, let your absence do the talking. Let the silence carry your strength. Let them feel what life is like without you. Not because you're bitter, but because you're better now. And I'm telling you right now, stay with me. Because this isn't just motivation. This is your wake-up call, your turning point. We're about to break it all down, step by step. Let's rebuild your power from the silence they never saw coming. Ready? Let's go. Number 1. Leave without announcing it. The most dangerous goodbyes are the quiet ones, the ones where you don't even know they've left, until everything around you starts feeling colder. That's the quote, my friends. That's the truth most people never see coming. They think the loud exits are the ones that hurt. The yelling, the blocking, the dramatic posts. Nah, those are noise. But when a real one leaves, calm, collected, no drama, no final goodbye, that silence is like a ghost. It haunts. Not because they were trying to hurt you, but because they finally stopped hurting themselves. Picture this. You're a lighthouse. You've been shining day and night, even in the storms. guiding someone who never really noticed you were the reason they didn't crash. You stood tall, glowing, consistent, and still, they took it for granted. One day, you just stopped lighting the way, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because you realize they never even looked up to see you standing there. You know why most people never walk away like this? Because they want to be understood. They want someone to say, "I see what you gave. I appreciate you." But here's the trap. If someone needed you to disappear just to realize your worth, they never truly saw you. They saw comfort, they saw access, but they didn't see you. You might be thinking, but what if I just explain one more time? What if I tell them why I'm stepping back? What if they finally get it? Listen, that's the lie that keeps you in the loop, that keeps you writing paragraphs that never get read, that keeps you draining yourself trying to be heard by someone who stopped listening a long time ago. Let me break it down for you. People don't hear your words when they're comfortable. They hear your silence when they're left with it, when the phone stops buzzing, when their notifications go dry, when they post something and you're not the first to react. That's when it hits. And you didn't need to say a word. Stoicism teaches us something powerful. You don't owe anyone a dramatic exit to prove your presence. You don't owe them a breakdown. You owe yourself peace. So stop thinking your value is measured by your explanation. It's measured by your boundaries and your silence. That's the boundary they never thought you'd enforce. It's hard, I know. There's a part of you that wants them to know, wants them to feel the weight of what they lost, wants them to say, "Damn, I really messed up." But let me ask you this. What's more powerful, forcing someone to see your worth or becoming someone they have no access to ever again? That's not ego. That's evolution. And it's going to be tough. There will be days where you draft the message, where you hover over the send button, where you replay memories that still hold weight in your chest. That's normal. You're not weak, you're human. But that voice inside you, the one that whispered enough, that voice isn't wrong. It's just finally louder than your fears. This is where most people fold. They leave, but they leave with noise. One last text, one last jab, one last attempt to make them feel. But a stoic man, he doesn't need to be heard. He needs to be healed, and healing doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from detachment, quiet, calm, detached. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." So don't give them what they expect. Don't give them that final emotional performance. Leave like water, silent, smooth, but unstoppable. Let them wonder. Let them notice. Let them scroll through their phone one night and ask themselves, where did he go? And when they feel that stillness, that empty space where you used to exist, it won't be just silence. It'll be a mirror showing them the weight of what they ignored, because you were the consistency, the voice, the light, and now you're no longer in orbit. Don't say, "You'll miss me." Let your absence say it. Don't post, "Watch me glow up." Let your growth show it. Don't explain, "I'm walking away because..." Just walk. No status, no subtweet, just movement. Because you're not leaving for effect, you're leaving for your evolution. And here's something powerful to remember. What you walk away from is never greater than what you're walking toward. That version of you that stayed too long. That's not your identity. That's your past. And every step you take in silence is a step back toward your power. So today, right now, in this moment, make the decision not to rage quit, not to slam the door, but to quietly walk out of the room that stopped appreciating your presence. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally grew a heart for yourself. And if that resonates with you, write this in the comments right now. I walk away with peace. Show the world. Show yourself. Let it be a signal, not to them, but to you, that this chapter ends in clarity, not chaos. Stay with me, because in the next section we're going deeper into what happens when your presence turns to absence and that silence starts to echo. You're just getting started. Number 2, your absence will speak louder than your effort ever did. They didn't ignore you because you were too quiet. They ignored you because you were always there, and they thought you always would be. That's the part they never say out loud. That's the part that stings the most. Not that they stopped appreciating you, but that they expected you to never leave. They thought your love was endless, your support was guaranteed, your presence was permanent. And so they got comfortable, too comfortable. You were the one who checked in, the one who stayed calm when they were cold, the one who forgave the silence, the missed calls, the lazy energy, the one who still showed up, texted, planned, gave, helped, when they were giving the bare minimum in return. And they knew it. Oh, they knew it. They just never thought it would stop. But now it has. And guess what? They feel it. Think of it like this. Your presence was a heater in the middle of a cold winter, constantly warming the room, even when they left the windows open, even when they let the cold in, even when they walked in dripping snow all over the floor, expecting you to clean it up and make it warm again. But one day, the heater turns off, not with a bang, not with smoke or fire, just off. And suddenly the cold creeps in, not all at once, but slow, subtle, chilling. That's what your absence does. You were the comfort, the reliability, the quiet strength in the background they assumed would always be there. And now, you're not. And it's louder than any words you could have ever said. Because when someone gets used to being loved loudly, and then that love goes silent, it's deafening. That's when they start noticing. That message they didn't get. That reaction they expected. That check-in that never came. And they might play it cool, post a meme, make a joke, pretend they're unbothered. But deep down, they're checking, they're scrolling, they're waiting, because what they once felt entitled to is now gone. And it's not that you're trying to punish them. This isn't about revenge. This is about restoration. This is about recalibrating your energy, because you poured and poured and poured until you were empty. And now you've realized something powerful. Being consistent with someone who's inconsistent is a form of self-betrayal. You've stopped betraying yourself. And yes, it's scary, the silence, the unknown, the what-ifs. You'll ask yourself, do they even notice I'm gone? Will they ever care like I did? Did all that effort mean nothing? Let me stop you right there. Your effort was never wasted. It just wasn't seen by the person who should have valued it. That doesn't make you less. That doesn't make your love wrong. It just means it was poured into the wrong container. See, Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about being clear. It's not about withholding love to hurt others. It's about withdrawing love from places that hurt you. And when you do that, when you pull back, not to cause pain, but to find peace, you'll be shocked at how loud your silence becomes. It doesn't scream. It doesn't shout. It just lingers in their chest, in their feed, in their memories. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That means your silence is not passive. It's powerful. You don't need to shout to be felt. You don't need to explain to be missed. Your absence is the message, and it's one they can't unhear. And if you're sitting there right now wondering if you made the right choice by stepping back, trust me, you did. You were never too much. You were just in the wrong space. And now that you're gone, they'll feel everything you used to hold up without them even realizing. The effort, the stability, the emotional security, the love that wrapped around them quietly like a blanket and is now gone. Let them feel it. Let the room get cold. Let the silence speak. You don't owe them noise. You owe yourself peace. If that hits you, if you feel that truth rising up inside, type it in the comments right now. I am the silence they never saw coming. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you what it looks like when a man steps back not to punish, but to protect what's left of him. Stay with me. Because the next part, we go even deeper into what happens when you stop filling in the silence they created and just let it echo. Number 3, stop filling spaces. They left empty. You were never too much. You were just the only one showing up. Let that one sit for a second, my friends, because for too long, you've been filling the space they walked away from, like it was your job to keep the connection alive while they played emotional hide and seek. You were the glue, the energy, the one who smoothed every rough patch and filled every silent pause, like your worth depended on being the one who never gave up. But here's the truth they don't tell you. You can't save something that's already been abandoned from the other side. They start pulling back, and you start pushing harder. They stop texting, you text more. They get distant, you get closer. They go cold, and you warm it all up. Why? Because somewhere along the line, you were convinced that consistency was your role, even if it meant carrying both sides of the connection. Even if it meant sacrificing your peace just to keep something, anything, intact. Imagine this, 2 people holding a rope. That rope is your relationship. At some point, they let go. Not loudly, not dramatically, just slowly loosened their grip until you were the only one holding it. But instead of noticing the tension, instead of realizing you were now dragging dead weight, you pulled harder. You used both hands. You bled your palms trying to keep that rope from slipping away. But the truth is, they had already walked off. You just didn't want to feel the fall. So let's get brutally honest. You weren't nurturing a connection. You were doing CPR on something they emotionally unplugged long ago. And that's not love. That's survival. That's fear. That's you clinging to the hope that maybe if you just show up enough, love enough, stay long enough, they'll finally show up too. But they won't. Not because you didn't matter, but because they never planned to match your effort. They were comfortable letting you overextend, comfortable letting you bleed, comfortable watching you bend until you broke. Stoicism teaches us we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And most of your suffering came from imagining that silence meant they were thinking, that distance meant confusion, that inconsistency meant fear. No, my friend, it meant disinterest, or worse, it meant control, because as long as you kept showing up while they disappeared, they knew you were still there, still orbiting, still holding space for them like they were the center of gravity. But now, you stop. You stop filling the gaps. You stop covering for their absence. You stop texting first. You stop checking their stories. You stop being the emotional janitor, cleaning up the mess they made when they stopped caring and didn't have the courage to say it. You stop sending the just checking in messages. You stop justifying their mood swings. You stop excusing their detachment as stress or timing or trauma. You stop being the bridge they refuse to meet you on, because every time you fill the silence they created, you teach them that they don't need to show up fully. You'll do it for both of you. Let that end today. Let the silence they created stay silent. Let the distance they opened remain wide. Don't fill it. Don't fix it. Don't shrink yourself to keep their attention. You're not the background character in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. And yeah, they might notice. When the texts stop, when the energy shifts, when their ego wonders why you're not doing what you used to, but you're not punishing them. You're just done playing a one-sided game. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not bitter. You're better. From now on, if they create space, you let it exist. You don't rush in to fill it. You don't chase. You don't explain, because your energy is sacred. And it's time you start treating it that way. And if this is clicking in your soul right now, I want you to pause and type it in the comments. I don't fill empty space anymore. That's your new standard. That's your new line in the sand. Say it out loud. Show yourself. Show the world around you what it looks like when a man stops begging to be enough and starts being enough for himself. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about what happens when you stop pouring into everyone else and finally reinvest that energy back into the man staring at you in the mirror. You've given enough. Now, it's your turn. Number 4, reclaim the energy you were wasting. A man doesn't go cold, he goes quiet, and when he goes quiet, it means he's finally listening to himself. Let's not sugarcoat this, my friends. You've been draining yourself, bleeding energy into a connection that was running on fumes. And for what? To prove you're loyal? To prove you're consistent? To prove that even when they showed up halfway, you were still all in? Let me say something hard and clear. Being all in with someone who's half out doesn't make you devoted, it makes you depleted. You weren't being strong, you were being used. You weren't being committed, you were being consumed. There's a certain kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work or stress. It comes from pouring your light into a black hole. It comes from always being the one to try, to fix, to keep the thing alive while they sat back and watched you burn for it. They called you intense. Too much, overthinking. But what they really meant was, you cared more than they were willing to, and they never planned to match it. But now, that ends. You're not their emotional generator anymore. You're not their late-night therapist, their unpaid validation machine, their backup plan in case their boredom sets in. You're done being a battery for someone who never bothered to recharge you. And this is where the shift begins. Not loud, not messy, but sacred. Because when a man stops giving his power away, something dangerous and beautiful happens. He doesn't explode. He evolves. He doesn't chase. He changes direction, quietly, calmly, permanently. Think of it like this. You've been trying to fill their cup while your own was cracked and leaking. And every time you reached back in to pour a little more, you had less and less for yourself. Until one day you look in the mirror and you don't even recognize the man staring back. You're tired, bitter, uninspired. That's not love. That's erosion. And it stops now. Now you take that energy and redirect it into your health, your body, your vision, your mission. You take the time you spent overanalyzing texts and put it into lifting weights, reading books, building the life you've been neglecting. Not for show, not to make them jealous, but because you're reclaiming the man you were always meant to be before you started dimming yourself to keep their attention. And don't get it twisted. They'll notice. They always do. They'll notice when your name stops popping up, when your attention disappears, when your energy isn't available on demand, and they might reach out, drop a memory, throw a little bait. But this time, you won't bite, because you're not who you were. You've unplugged, you've recharged, you've remembered that your energy is currency, and you've been giving it away for free. Stoicism reminds us, he who angers you conquers you. But let's go deeper. Who you give your energy to owns your time, your focus, your emotional world. And when you start protecting that with everything you've got, your life changes. Not because you got petty, but because you got precise. This is your rebirth season. This is your upgrade era. Let them play games. Let them seek attention. Let them post the passive-aggressive quotes. You're locked in, dialed in, unshakable. Not because you don't feel, but because you finally stopped giving your feelings to people who never respected them in the first place. You've been loyal to the wrong things for too long. It's time to get loyal to your vision, loyal to your discipline, loyal to your growth. Because when you build yourself from the inside out, you stop craving the love that left you empty and start attracting the peace that fills you completely. And if this is hitting home, do what you do. Drop it in the comments. I reclaim my energy. Say it like you mean it. Say it for the nights you cried in silence, for the mornings you woke up still hoping they'd finally show up, for every ounce of you that forgot you were the prize. Write it, show it, live it. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the one thing that makes your transformation even more powerful than your presence, your mystery. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the game changes. Let's keep going. Number 5. Let curiosity replace clarity. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop giving them the script, and suddenly they don't know what role to play anymore. You ever notice how predictable things became? How every time they pulled away, you chased. Every time they got quiet, you filled the silence. Every time they acted cold, you rushed in with warmth. They didn't have to wonder how you felt. You told them, showed them, proved it again and again. They never had to ask what page you were on because you kept handing them the book. But here's the thing they never told you. Certainty breeds comfort, and comfort breeds complacency. They didn't stop caring because you were wrong. They stopped wondering because you were always available. And when there's no mystery, there's no value. When someone knows they can disappear for days and you'll still be there the moment they reappear, you become a fixture, not a force. Now, my friend, you're flipping the script. No more long texts. No more midnight monologues trying to make them understand. No more justifying your silence or explaining your healing. Now you move, quietly, with purpose. You don't announce the shift. You become the shift. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Because curiosity is a powerful thing. It gnaws at the back of the mind. It shows up in the silence. It creeps in when you're no longer predictable. And the moment they realize you've gone quiet, not out of spite, not out of pain, but out of power, is the moment they start replaying everything they took for granted. Let's paint a picture. They open their phone, scroll through your page, expecting the usual, some subtle quote, a hint of pain, maybe something they can tell is meant for them. But this time, nothing, just stillness. No coded messages, no breadcrumbs, no emotional bait. You've gone from being the background noise to being completely still, and suddenly the absence becomes deafening. And now the questions start. Why isn't he reacting? Why didn't he watch my story? Why does he seem so calm? See, before, your emotions were their safety net. They could test your boundaries because they knew exactly how you'd respond. But now, you're not performing. You're not decoding their mixed signals. You're not playing the emotional chess game anymore. You've walked off the board entirely and left them wondering what happened. Stoicism teaches us this powerful truth. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. And trying to make someone understand you, explain yourself, beg for emotional recognition, that's control-seeking behavior in disguise. It doesn't create connection, it creates captivity. You become imprisoned by their ability to validate or dismiss you. But when you stop explaining, when you stop handing them every detail of your inner world, you reclaim something sacred, your privacy, your mystery, your power. Now you're no longer the man who overshares to prove he's still open. You're the man who shares nothing because he no longer needs to prove anything at all. And here's the part that will shake them the most. You didn't change to confuse them. You changed because clarity demanded it. You didn't go silent to punish. You went silent to protect, to reset, to rebuild. And that difference, that's what sticks. So let them sit in the silence. Let them play the guessing game they thought they were immune to. Let them overthink for once. You're not being petty, you're being precise. You're no longer here to manage their perception. You're here to manage your peace. And yes, they'll notice when their usual tactics don't work, when the hooks they use to reel you back in fall flat, when the attention they expected never comes. That's when curiosity replaces clarity. That's when your silence starts living rent-free in their mind. You've spent too long handing out clarity to people who thrived in your confusion. Now it's your turn to be the one they don't quite understand, the one they can't predict, the one who stopped explaining and started evolving. And if this speaks to your soul, write it in the comments right now. I don't explain. I evolve. Say it like you mean it. Not just for them, but for you. For the part of you that's tired of being transparent with people who only looked when they were bored. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your growth no longer comes with a warning label. Stay with me. Because in the next section, we're going to expose what really happens when they try to come back and realize you're not waiting at the door anymore. Let's keep building. Number 6, you're no longer their emergency option. They didn't want you until they needed you, and by the time they realized it, you had already stopped picking up the call. Let's be honest, my friends, how many times did they go missing only to come running back the moment life hit them? The moment someone else failed them? The moment their fake peace shattered? You weren't their first choice. You were their backup generator, their emotional ambulance, the one they came to when the storm hit and their real plan fell apart. And like clockwork, you answered, you replied, you cared, you always cared, even when you shouldn't have. Even when they didn't deserve that version of you anymore, even when it felt like they only loved you when they were lonely. They didn't build with you. They borrowed your strength every time their own life cracked. You see, they treated your heart like a hotel room, booked only when convenient, left messy when they were done, never theirs, just a space they knew would always welcome them back. And you kept leaving the key under the mat. You convinced yourself that being the safe place was love. That being available, even when they weren't consistent, was some noble form of loyalty. But that wasn't love. That was self-neglect dressed up as devotion. And you're done with it now. You're not their emotional crash pad anymore. You're not the emergency contact they remember when everyone else lets them down. And this new version of you, it doesn't wait by the phone. It doesn't light up when they text, "Hey, you up?" at 1 a.m. It doesn't interpret temporary attention as permanent change, because you've seen the pattern. You've lived through it. And now you're done dancing with the same damn cycle. Let me put it this way. They only came back when the silence got uncomfortable, but you lived in that silence for months. They only missed you when someone else didn't meet their standards. But you were always meeting yours with or without them. They didn't realize your worth. They realized your absence. And those are two very different things. And now you're calm. Now you're still. Now you've moved from being the man who waits to the man who walks. You didn't slam the door. You didn't block. You just stopped answering to the same old ringtone. You're no longer playing lifeguard for people who jumped ship on you first. Because Stoicism teaches this, we don't react to chaos. We respond to truth. And the truth is, they had access to your best. They knew who you were. They felt the consistency, the effort, the loyalty. But they only valued it when they were afraid of losing it. That's not love. That's control. And you've stopped participating in it. And yes, they'll try again. Don't think they won't. They'll test the waters. Maybe a random DM. Maybe they'll accidentally like an old photo. Maybe they'll bring up a song, a memory, some inside joke just to see if you still feel it. But this time, you don't flinch. Because you're not triggered by breadcrumbs anymore. You're not hungry for a piece of what you used to beg for. You've sat with yourself. You've rebuilt. You've filled your own cup. And now, you don't chase the comfort that once drained you. They'll be confused. Trust that. They'll wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not jumping, why you don't seem excited to be remembered again. But that's the thing. They don't realize that while they were out forgetting you, you remembered yourself. So now you respond with silence, with stillness, with standards. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not cruel. You're calm. That's what makes you powerful now. You're the version of yourself they never thought they'd meet. The one who finally understands that being available to the wrong person is the fastest way to stay stuck. And if this speaks to you, you already know what to do. Drop it in the comments right now. I'm not their emergency anymore. Say it with your chest. Say it for every time you felt disposable, for every time you showed up and they didn't, for the man who stayed too long and is now finally walking free. Stay with me. Because the next part, We're about to step into full presence with zero permission. You'll learn how to be visible and untouchable. Let's go deeper. Number 7. Be seen but unavailable. You don't need to disappear to be powerful. Sometimes the most haunting presence is the one they can see but no longer reach. Here's where things start to shift, my friends, because the old you, he vanished when he felt disrespected, blocked, ghosted, went completely off the map to make a point. But this version of you, the one who's grown through silence, through distance, through self-respect, he doesn't need to run. He doesn't need to scream, "I'm done." He stays visible, but untouchable. You were always there, always one message away, one story reaction, one phone call. You made it easy for them to feel seen, even when they made you feel invisible, and they got used to that. They got used to checking your profile and seeing the same guy, still smiling, still posting, still orbiting around their world, even after they pulled back. But now, you're still visible, but something's different. You're not chasing, you're not hinting, you're not trying to get a reaction. You've stopped tailoring your posts to provoke curiosity. You've stopped shaping your presence around their attention span. You've stopped being the man who used to perform pain just to be noticed. Now you're just present, calm, centered, moving with intention, and they can feel it. Imagine this. They're lying in bed one night, scrolling. Your name pops up, but the energy has shifted. You're there, but not for them. There's no sadness in your eyes, no cryptic captions, no emotional breadcrumbs, just a man building, a man laughing, a man living, and for the first time, they feel the difference. You're not performing your piece, you're living it, and that is louder than any goodbye. You see, there's a power in being seen and no longer being theirs. It's psychological, it's emotional, it messes with the ego, because people remember what they can't reach. They remember what they once had free access to, but lost due to neglect. And when they see you shining, not to get noticed, but because you actually healed, that's when the regret kicks in. They used to take your presence for granted, your check-ins, your loyalty, your warmth. But now they scroll and they watch and they wonder, why does he seem different? Why does it feel like he's no longer thinking about me? Is he really over it? And that uncertainty, it digs deeper than your old explanations ever did. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about playing games. Stoicism is not about manipulation. It's about mastery. And you, my friend, have mastered the art of emotional distance without needing to disappear. You don't block. You don't delete. You just stop offering free access to your soul. Your peace, that's behind a wall now, and not everyone gets the key. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what you're doing. You're no longer adjusting your life to fit their expectations. You're no longer basing your day around if they saw your story, liked your post, or sent you a message. You're living unbothered, untouched, unmoved, because you know what's better than revenge, radiance. You know what hits harder than a final message, momentum. Let them look, let them wonder, let them watch. But don't break your peace just to prove something to someone who never protected it in the first place. And the best part, they can't call you bitter. They can't accuse you of cutting them off. You're still there, still standing, still doing your thing. You didn't block the view, you just blocked the access. And that's what makes your presence so powerful now. You became a mystery again, and people crave what they don't understand. So if this part of the journey speaks to you, you know what to do. Drop it in the comments right now. I'm visible, but no longer reachable. Say it like you mean it. Say it for every time they thought you'd always be there. For every time they saw your light and used it to warm themselves without ever asking how you were doing. Stay with me. Because in the next section, we're going to let the silence become their mirror. No more noise, just truth. Let's go. Number 8. Let the silence become their mirror. You don't have to scream, block, or beg. Sometimes, silence is the only closure you'll ever need, and the only truth they'll ever feel. You showed up, you cared, you gave more chances than they deserved, and when things got hard, when the connection cracked, you didn't leave immediately. No, you waited, you hoped, you tried. You poured love into every broken space, thinking maybe they'd see it, maybe they'd change, but they didn't. They just got used to your light, and when they got too comfortable, they stopped looking for it. That's when your silence began. And that silence, it's louder than anything you ever said, because now there's no final message, no closure speech, no dramatic exit. You simply stopped talking, and in that stillness, they're finally left with themselves. No more distractions, no more comfort, just a mirror. A mirror made from all the moments you showed up, and they didn't. All the late-night replies, all the overthinking, all the times you should have left, but stayed. That mirror doesn't lie, and it doesn't blink. See, your silence has weight now, not bitterness, not revenge, just truth. You're not trying to hurt them, you're just done hurting yourself. And now they get to sit in the emptiness they used to fill with your love, your words, your energy. That's the lesson, that's the echo. And here's what makes it powerful. You didn't force them to see it. You just stopped blocking the reflection. You walked away with grace, with calm, with clarity. And you let the silence do what words never could. Show them who they were, and who you had to become to survive it. So if this journey hit home, if you finally found yourself in the stillness they never expected, drop it in the comments one last time. My silence is my mirror. Say it proud. Say it for the man who gave too much, and now gives it to himself. If this spoke to your soul, like this video, hit subscribe and share it with someone who's healing through quiet strength. Your story matters, your silence matters, and your peace. That's the most unforgettable sound they'll ever hear. Stay grounded, stay calm, stay powerful. You've already said enough. Now let your silence speak.